summer, June 6th through 9th at the Miami Hawks Wrestling event. Nozomi Pozo from the Eagle Empire and Coach Duck from the Gladiator Wrestling Cup will be the first two coaches announced. Nozomi Pozo,
I'm a shark. I live in deep water.
two-time JUCO champion, two-time NAIA champion, currently the head coach at St. Thomas University. Coach Duck, 2022 Florida National Hall of Famer, currently the head assistant coach at Stockdale High School. And we got more big announcements coming soon, so make sure you follow the Florida Wrestling Room and the Miami Hawks Wrestling Club, Instagram and Facebook for all updates. Click the link in the bottom to register.
Good evening, everybody. This is your boy Ricky Cheese here on Grinding for Greatness podcast, the official podcast for the FloridaWrestling.com. Make sure you check out the website. We have a really special guest tonight. We've got Michael Kemerer from the University of Iowa. Like I said earlier, if you're living under a rock and you don't know who Kemerer is, let me give you a little dose of Michael Kemerer here. He was a Pennsylvania state champion in high school. He was the first ever 5-time All-American in the University of Iowa history, which is incredible. He had a career D1 record of 100 wins with only 12 losses. His 12 losses were all against ranked guys. He has a 55-12 record against ranked guys. His dual meet record is 52-3. His Big Ten duels record is 35-3, and he has a 26-2 record at home at Carver Hawkeye Arena. But what really impresses me the most is he is a 6-time academic all Big Ten honoree. Guy has won everything there is to win. He won the friggin' Midlands. He placed second, third, fourth twice at the NCAAs. The guy's an incredible wrestler. I am very honored to bring you Michael Kemerer. Michael, thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. You got your statistics down. You were throwing things out there that I don't even know if I knew. It's pretty cool though. That was pretty cool. You did your research.
Gotta always do the research, man. I gotta know everything, all about who I'm talking to. Now, obviously, I am a huge wrestling fan. I was talking with Max earlier. Being where you grew up in Pennsylvania, total hotbed for wrestling. You guys have so many opportunities that so many other guys don't have. Like, for example, Young Guns Wrestling Club, all these guys that come out of Young Guns that just do great things. So I guess we could start there. Like, tell me when you got involved with Young Guns and how that even happened.
Yeah, I kind of ended up in a really good situation where Young Guns originated out in Evansburg, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour from me, which is where Max is actually from. But
yeah,
they opened up a location at my high school when I was in 6th grade, and I lived 2 minutes from the high school. So we had actually had different clubs that had been at my high school before, and I was able to use those. And Young Guns came in when I was in 6th grade, and it's right down the road, and I had heard a lot of really good things. I knew that they'd already coached some really good guys that were a couple years older than me, so stopped down there, and the rest is kind of history. Then the room just grew and grew, and that room, my high school was Franklin Regional, and that room just got better and better, and we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of good scraps in there.
Oh yeah. Now, did you travel with Young Guns to like the Disney duels and shit when you guys were down there?
Oh yeah. We went to Disney duels. That's some of my best memories, I think, were Disney duels going down there. We had some stacked teams. But I went down there 3 of my 4 years of high school.
Well,
yeah.
The reason I asked you that question is because my youngest son, I think, is probably Max's age. Well, what year did you graduate high school?
15. I graduated in 15.
Okay. Yeah, so Max graduated in 17. My son Bryce graduated in 2017.
Okay.
He was a 4-time state placer, and he was a state champ in 2017 down here. He actually signed with Michigan State, and then he decided that he didn't want to wrestle in college, and he made the right decision. He's a fireman now. He's doing great. He loves it.
Awesome.
But anyways, he was wrestling on one of the all-star teams put together down here that wrestled in the all-star division, and our very last duel was against Young Guns. He was on the Florida Beach Boys, and they had to wrestle Young Guns, and he would have had to wrestle Filippi that year.
Wow.
Yeah, man. And my son was 9-0 going into that match. And I was messing with him. I said, well, 9-1 is not bad in the All-Star division. He goes, what are you talking about, man? He goes, I haven't even wrestled yet. Turns out, I don't know what happened. Maybe you remember, but Filippi, for some reason, didn't wrestle, man. And Bryce got one of the alternates. I don't even know why, but anyways, yeah. So your teams were packed, man. Solid teams, man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I think I do remember the Florida Beach Boys.
Yeah,
Yeah, I went down there a couple times and it was cool. We always had a training camp before it. We would
yeah,
have like a little couple-day camp, and we would go down there, and then you're wrestling, and then you're going to all these parks and everything. That's like
yeah.
some of my best wrestling memories are from Disney duels. So that's super
And
cool. Yeah,
that's
we
what
were
it's all
down
about.
down your guys' way. Yeah,
All
yeah. Oh,
about
that's
making
cool.
the memories and lifelong friends, and the whole singlet trading and all that. And the Beach Boys singlet, man, everybody wanted those singlets,
Oh
man.
yeah.
Everybody wanted them. And I think my son wanted a Young Gun singlet. He never got one. I don't know if you guys were even allowed to give them away, but he never got one. But so anyways, yeah, the Young Guns are tough. I mean, all the top guys came out of the Young Guns. Filippi, you, Murin, Spencer Lee, all of them, man. I mean, the list is just endless. Are there any guys that came out of the Young Guns that everybody thought might have been like the next Spencer Lee, Michael Kemerer, that really didn't pan out, that didn't do much in college? Were there any of those guys on the team?
Um, I mean, we probably had some guys that had higher expectations for themselves than I guess what ended up happening. But it's hard to say. I mean, even I think guys that didn't do what they wanted to do, they still had really did more than most people do in the sport.
Right,
Like maybe they didn't accomplish their college goals, but their college goal was to be a multiple time national champ, and
right,
they
right,
were just they qualified or something. You know what I mean? So it's like
right.
it's kind of
Still,
crazy.
for the average guy, qualifying at the D1s is like that's like they did it. They met their goal. So
Yeah, yeah.
and it's true, man. So when you hear about the stuff that you did, that Max did, that Spencer did, any of those guys, any of the starters, it's incredible. It really is. I don't know if you see, you guys are part of it and you've been around it for so long. I don't know, and you can tell me, I don't know if you guys realize like how special and how good you guys really, really are. Like, do you guys even understand that? Or is it just like, yeah, no, that's what we're supposed to do. Do you get it?
Yeah, I think I have gotten more of an appreciation for it even kind of now, like that I'm done competing and I'm getting into coaching now. I'm coaching up at
Yeah.
Brown University and just kind of
Yeah.
doing all the process now from a different perspective. I kind of realized that it's not easy to do a lot of the things that we were doing and the things that we expected of ourselves. So it's kind of changed my perspective on it. But at the time, it was just kind of, you have your goals and you're kind of lasered in on them, and that's all that you
Right.
think about. You don't think about anything else in the sport other than like what you're setting out to do. But now I
Yeah.
look back and I can kind of have more appreciation for it, and even for what all these other guys have done, and what our room was like, and even thinking of those Disney dual teams, like that's not a normal club that you're throwing together that's going down there. I mean, that's
Right.
something that if I saw that nowadays, I would be like, holy smokes. But at the time, it was all I
Yeah.
knew. It's all you know. So you're just like, yeah, we just go
That's
down
my
and
point.
win
Exactly.
most of our dual meets.
Right, right. But
Yeah.
now that you're out of it, you're starting to see a little bit, how big of a deal it really was. That's awesome that you get to see it from the other side now. Um, so I asked this to Max as well. Being a Pennsylvania kid, there had to be some type of pressure to go to Penn State. Like, how did you make your decision? What was there pressure from family, friends, coaches, whatever? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I really felt the pressure because I feel like the people that were super close to me knew that I was just kind of trying to make the best decision for me, and obviously they wanted me to stay close to home. And Penn State, I mean, their success speaks for itself, and that was an option that was definitely there. But at the same time, I just feel like kind of the way my recruiting process played out and everything, I just really liked Iowa a lot, and
Mhm.
I think, but on both sides too, I think they definitely Penn State recruited me too, but Iowa probably recruited me a little bit harder than Penn State did, and I kind of always wanted to do something different, go do my own thing, and that was part of it. And I don't know
Yeah.
if Max talked about it, but our club coach wrestled for Iowa too. And
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
was
Strip
coming up
medal.
through
Yeah.
wrestling, yep. And when I was coming up through wrestling in middle school, those years when Young Guns was at my high school, like that was right when
Mhm.
Iowa won those 3 titles in a row. So just kind of like the
Yeah.
perfect storm of things. And But even when I was out in Iowa, people, you say you're from Pennsylvania, and they're like, "Oh, why not Penn State?" And I
Yeah.
say it speaks to the tradition and the program that Iowa has, that they could pull all those good guys from a state like Pennsylvania.
That's a really good point, man. That speaks volumes about the Brands brothers, the program, the culture over there. I mean, it really does. And for those that don't know, what is the culture at University of Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing as far as team culture is there's just a really high standard and a lot of people that have really high goals, and I think there was kind of a stigma that it was all work and no, guys didn't joke around and stuff like that. And it wasn't like that, but it was just we all knew what we wanted to do and we kind of held each other accountable. But we
Yeah,
didn't need to that much because guys wanted to be in there doing the extra work. We wanted to be on the mat. We wanted to be going
yeah,
and chasing after our goals, really. So that was just kind of a thing that it was a good atmosphere to be in because sometimes if you're in a bad culture or something, there's guys trying to bring you down, and the outliers were the guys that we had to bring up. I mean, for the most part, it was that everyone wants to be up here, and if you're not, then someone's getting on you. So I love that. I thought it
right.
was a great place for what I was about.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously everybody knows that Iowa is known for their intensive training, as every Division One school is, I would imagine.
Right.
But what do the Brands brothers bring to you or bring for you as far as mental mindset training? Because so much of it has to be, up here between your ears. Anybody can train hard physically and do everything that's needed to do to get big, strong, and get the technique. But not everybody
Right.
has it up here to get to that high level, that elite level. So what goes on at Iowa to help you guys with that?
Yeah, I think it's just they do a really good job of preaching the lifestyle that's required and kind of just living the life of a champion, living the life of someone where if your goals are here, then you're gonna do what you have to do to accomplish them, and that kind of helps with the mental side
Mhm.
too. It's like if your mind's not focused on every day you're in practice, if your mind's not in that space it needs to be, then you're gonna you're not going to achieve what you want to achieve, and they're going to be on you for it. If you're in there, they expect you to have your mind right and be going after it. And so that's just kind of something that, and maybe to some people can get mundane, like doing the same thing day to day, but that's kind of what the best guys do is they can go in there and train day after day, and maybe it gets routine to some people, but um, we kept it fresh. The message was fresh. We wanted to win, and it wasn't like they had to do much because they fostered that environment, and I feel like we were all about it.
So, as far as doing my research, I really did my research, and I know that you have four sisters, and one of them is a twin, right?
Yep. Yeah, that is
How would
true. That's good.
That's a lot of estrogen for one guy to have to deal with growing up in a house with all those women, man. Tell me about how crazy was that?
Yeah, I know, man. That's crazy. It was I think that's part of why I got into wrestling, honestly. I think my parents were like, he's messing with his sisters too much. We gotta get this kid's energy out somewhere or something. But
That's hilarious.
the funny part was my twin sister was about 4 inches taller than me for the first till I was in like ninth or 10th grade. I just grew super late, and she sprung up early. So if we got into a scrap, it wasn't a for sure thing. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
awesome. And where do you fall as far as the ages? Were you the youngest, in the middle, the oldest?
I'm kind of in the middle. So I have an older sister that's 3 years older than me, and then twin sister,
Okay.
and then two younger sisters. So kind of in the middle.
Were they athletes as well, or they were into other stuff?
They were all dancers, which is kind of interesting, kind of a totally different thing than wrestling.
Yeah.
But we kind of had a funny thing where they would have to go to some of my wrestling stuff, and I'd have to go sit at a dance competition. We had that trade off.
Yeah.
So
It's only fair,
it
man.
it is what it is. I would bring the Game Boy DS and
Yep.
sit there and watch them dance, I guess. But
Absolutely.
my one younger sister, she ended up playing softball in high school, and she was a real good softball player too. So that was fun to
Very
watch. That
cool.
was a little bit more my speed than the dance
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, my boys got lucky. I have 3 sons and a daughter, and my daughter played softball, and that poor girl got dragged to every wrestling tournament for 3
Oh,
sons. But then they paid her back. They went to all her softball games, and I didn't even have to make them do it. They liked watching and supporting her, so that was kind of cool. But now, did your sisters go to college, or did your twin sister go to college when you went off to college?
yep. So she went to Duquesne, which is in Pittsburgh, right? It was pretty close to home. So
Yeah.
she was close to home, and I was all the way out in Iowa. So that was kind
Okay.
of our first time being truly separated, just because we had classes and everything all growing up, and
Yeah.
being the
Were you
same
guys
age, we knew
pretty
all the
tight
same people.
growing up as twins? Were you pretty tight?
Yeah, we were. We had a good relationship.
Good.
It was we would kind of get on each other's nerves because we were around each other a lot, but we definitely were tight. And it was weird, like the first year or two, especially, just kind of being in different places, and just because when you have a twin, you're kind of in it with them a lot. You're just
Yeah.
in all the same
Yeah.
stuff, really.
My daughter that I was just talking about, she has twin daughters. So my granddaughters are twins. They're 6 years old. So I get the
Oh
whole twin
wow,
thing, man. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Twins are awesome, man. They really are, man. It's I feel like a bad grandfather, but I can't tell them apart, man. My wife can. She's like, "Yep, that's Millie. That's Ollie." I'm like, "How do you even know that?" But
yeah.
now, do you guys look alike, or you're totally different?
I don't think we look alike. I haven't really had people tell me that we look alike, to be honest with you. I think we
Yeah.
look pretty different, so that
Okay.
helps. But it is funny about the identical twin thing. Like even at Iowa, I remember with Tom and Terry being identical twins. Like
Oh, that's
the
right. Yeah,
first
yeah.
couple weeks, I was the same thing. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to be able to figure this out." And then now, like I can look at them from all the way across the arena, and I can tell who it is. But
Yeah.
it's
I,
just
I
it's
guess
just
I would
big.
if I were trying to tell them apart, I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd have to look at the ears and say, all right, which one has the worst ear, and then I'd have to kind of relate it to that thing. But
Yeah,
um,
there's certain tells. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Those guys were animals in high school and college as well. So I'm sure they train you guys just like they were trained by Gable. And by the way, how often would Gable stop in and talk to you guys and hang with you guys or coach you guys maybe? How often did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, early on in my career, he was a little bit more than later. Just whenever COVID hit and everything, I feel like they started, I don't know, we started having less people kind of coming in, but he would still come in, but definitely, especially early on, I mean, he would be pretty much down there after every duel. He'd be talking to him. He'd stop in at practices, and he'd get little workouts of his own in sometimes, but he always had stuff to say. I enjoyed talking to him. He always had advice. After a match, you could if he came up to talk to you, you knew that his mind, you could just see his mind working, and he was gonna give you some wrestling advice, which was pretty cool. I mean, that's a living legend right in front of you
Yeah.
there.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. So, I got to imagine he's way more chill now in his older years and, he's not coaching. So I'm sure he was a whole different Dan Gable to Terry and Tom than he is to you guys. But it sounds like he's just a cool dude right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think that definitely like things change. I mean, he was their coach. He had a different role for them than he did for us, but
For sure.
but he still is invested. You can tell. I mean, you see him sitting up in the front for all the matches and everything, and he's invested, and uh, he's still got that fire. He's in a
Oh,
different
yeah.
phase of life now, obviously.
I don't think an Olympic champion will ever lose that fire. So I think he'll bring that to the grave with him, and hopefully that'll be many, 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 many years in the future. But yeah, I would love to meet the guy, man. I've never met him. I've been in an arena where he was, but I never actually was privileged enough to meet him. Met Danny Hodge and shook that big old hand.
Here's 2 reasons why you're not becoming a better wrestler. You're training with the same people, and you're not training in the off-season. I'm Pat Lugo, 2-time Florida State champ, multiple-time Division I All-American for the University of Iowa, and I want to be the first to invite you and your family to this year's Miami Hawks wrestling event. This summer, June 6th through 9th, we'll be hosting a wrestling camp and tournament at the Miccosukee Resort in Miami, Florida. Our event will have over 10 full-size wrestling matches with some of the best coaches and athletes in the nation. We also have a big announcement coming soon, so follow the page so you don't miss out, and click the link in the bio to register.
Who whoever's coming back to watch you guys, do you ever have that go through your mind? Like, oh man, I got to win. I can't lose. They're here. I can't lose. Do you ever, I mean, you're probably like that every match, but extra special pressure put on yourself. Do you ever feel that or not really?
Yeah, I think early on I did feel it a little bit, and I think it was even just because you're around like these great coaches and this great history, and you feel like you gotta perform to the standard. But I don't know. I honestly kind of like my coaches and my teammates having my back. They kind of help you not focus on that stuff and just kind of focus on yourself and what you do. And because whenever you kind of get too wrapped up in that stuff, sometimes it can affect your performance.
Yep.
And so just kind of keeping it looser, and the coaches did a good job of kind of helping me realize that. And then kind of as my career went on, after the beginning there, you kind of get used to all the other stuff, and it's easier to just kind of focus on wrestling and performance and kind of keep it simple. But it can definitely creep into your mind.
I'm sure. Now, when you first started, when you were younger, like, when you were a freshman at Iowa, obviously you have legendary coaches, so maybe it wouldn't get you as much as it would if you weren't at a program like Iowa. But when you were a freshman and you looked across the mat and you saw John Smith sitting there coaching against you, were you like, holy shit, man, I got this legend, this Olympic champion coaching against me? Now, obviously you have an Olympic champion coaching you as well, but did any of that creep into your mind younger on in your career?
Maybe a little bit. I tried to just keep it simple and focus on wrestling and myself and my opponent and everything. But that stuff definitely, you think about it. I think if anything, maybe after the match. So say we're wrestling Oklahoma State that week, I'm just kind of doing my thing, focusing on myself. And then you're in the match, you're enjoying it. And then after the match, it's kind of like, man, this is cool. Like I'm in an Iowa State duel right now. Like I'm wrestling in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and John Smith's over there. And, especially like I remember wrestling there my freshman year, and it was getting chippy, and like Gilman was getting into it with their bench, and there was all this stuff going on. And I just remember being like, "Oh, I'm in it now. This is the big leagues," and that's what you want, though. I mean, I loved it. I love that atmosphere.
I remember that match. I remember when Gilman was getting chippy with Piccinini or Piccinini, whatever the hell his name is.
Yep.
That was awesome stuff, man. I love that about Iowa. That chippiness, that just like, hey man, let's go. You want to go? Let's go. And I watched that episode on Flow where Gilman was talking about, he was in the wrestling room getting interviewed, and you probably remember this, and they wanted him, his back was turned. He's like, no, man, you can interview me, but I got to stand sideways. I'm not going to let them be behind my back, man. They look like the enemy. What if they try to take my knees out or something? I watched that. I'm like, wow, man, that mindset is just awesome. I love the way this kid thinks, man. But hey, you never know, man. But yeah, that was an awesome duel. So as far as a team, obviously Iowa State, as you mentioned, that's a big one. But for you personally, who are your big rivals?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like my biggest rivals were wrestling the best guys, and so earlier on in my career, it was I wrestled. Nolf was the guy to beat at my weight, so there was him, and then there was Hall from Penn State, and then Staraji. So all those Penn State guys, I mean, all those Penn State matchups always felt huge. And then there were other big opponents too, kind of throughout my career, but those were kind of the big guys to beat. And then like early in my career, I wrestled Tyler Berger a couple times, and we had some crazy matches. I was wrestling Joe Smith from Okie State, John Sun. Those were fun matches. And then later in my career, it was, wrestling other guys, wrestling, Hayden Hiley and I wrestled in college, and we wrestled in high school. We wrestled about 1 million times, just all throughout our career. Mikey Labriola. I feel like I was around so long that I got to have I was at multiple weight classes, so I got to have 10 different phases of rivalries going on, which is kind of cool. I got to wrestle a lot of different good guys, but especially wrestling the Big Ten too, you're going to see guys multiple times. So, so you're always making those adjustments. And
what weight did you start?
I started at 149. I started at 49. My redshirt year, I wrestled 149.
Yep.
The Midlands and everything. I was at 49, and then I went up to 57. I was up there for 2 years, and then I moved up to 74 for my last 2 years. So I made the 2 weight jump.
Yeah, it's a big jump, man. Did you feel like, was there a major difference or not really?
It was definitely different. I knew, so I mean, when I was first at 57, it wasn't a tough cut, and then it got pretty tough, especially that second year I was down there. And I mean, we had Marinelli at 65, and I knew he was kind of a 65 for life, and I was pretty sick of cutting weight, and it just kind of made sense for me to just commit to putting on some size on my frame and seeing what happened. And I felt good wrestling up there. I felt like I could use my speed a lot. I felt like I had to kind of use my smarts, my speed, wrestle a little bit differently. But at the same time, I feel like it gave me a lot of advantages too, especially the more time I spent wrestling up there, even in the practice room, wrestling bigger guys. I kind of tried to wrestle even with the 84s or even like a 97, just because I wanted to feel big guys. So when I was out wrestling 74, it just felt like my weight class. And soon enough, it did. I mean, after that I made the jump, I didn't really look back. I didn't think about it like it wasn't my weight. It was just, I was a 174 pounder.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this question. Every single year, it happens every single year without fail. You turn on the NCAAs, the very first round, and you see a top-ranked guy get knocked off, either by a guy that's, seated much lower, or a guy that's, whatever, a last seed, a 32 or 33, whatever. Why do you think that happens?
I think there's a lot of things that go into it, but probably the biggest thing is the mental side of it.
Yeah.
I think that, it's the crazy thing about wrestling. It's one-on-one. So, there's a lot of stuff that can happen when it's one-on-one. I mean, one guy wrestles really hard and gets up for it and wrestles the right match, and the other guy, maybe the moment gets to him, or maybe he has a bad weight cut, or maybe he's just overthinking out there. I mean, there's really so many things that can happen whenever it's just a one-on-one match. That's what makes it so great. So I think that any one of those things is what you see a lot. I think guys kind of tighten up. There's so many different things, matchups too. I mean, how many times where you see where one guy beats another guy, then that guy beats a guy, but then that guy beats the first guy. Like, it's just, it's such a hard sport to predict. Yeah, and especially at the highest level, I mean, the margin gets smaller and smaller. That's why when you see guys that go on these runs and dominate, it makes it all the more impressive, because the margin is that small. So to separate yourself takes even more than maybe at the younger ages.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that's the truth for sure. Pat Lugo, won all the time, but a lot of his matches were close. 3-2, 4-2, 2-1. He wins, gets the W, but they're very close matches. I mean, maybe that was just his style, but you see that a lot. But the reason I asked you that question about, top-ranked guys getting knocked off in the first round is because I remember that happening very vividly. I forgot what year it was. I think it was 2006 when Zadok came in as like the number one guy in the country for Iowa, and he's wrestling an unknown freshman, Chris Percival. And Percival knocked him off, man. His senior year, it was devastating, man. And but he had enough intestinal fortitude. He got his shit together. He takes a hit like that in the very first match. A lot of guys would have just crumbled, man. That would have been it. That would have been like, fuck it. But he came back and, he won. He did what he had to do. But man, when I saw that happen, I felt like crying for him, man. It's got to be so devastating, and just what goes on mentally upstairs after taking a hit like that. Has that ever happened to you where, you were supposed to win a match, you actually went out, didn't wrestle to your potential for whatever reason, you wound up dropping the match? Has that ever happened to you? And if it has, how do you handle that? How do you come back from something like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely happened to me. I think it's happened to pretty much anybody you talk to in the sport, and at some level or another. But it happened to me. I mean, I can think of different times, but especially my freshman year NCAAs, I was a 2 seed, and I was wrestling Palacio from Cornell, and he pinned me in a Peterson of all things. I mean, and you don't you don't expect that to happen. Especially, I mean, I felt like I was having a great year, and like I was on pace to make the finals, and next thing you know, just like that, arena's erupting, and you're on the backside, and I was crushed, and it sucked, and yeah, it's a terrible feeling, and pretty much anyone who's wrestled has felt it on some scale or another. Obviously, there's different levels to it, but
yeah, I felt it, not nearly the level you have, obviously, but you're right. We all feel it, but I just wanted to know, how does a guy at the elite level deal with it? Because it's different. It's different for me to lose my match than it is for you to lose your match, because my match is at a JUCO tournament. Yours is at the fucking NCAA Division I Nationals, the show, man, the mecca, the granddaddy of them all. Like, that's got to be so hard to come back from, right?
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, like, I don't put too much into it. Like, yeah, the NCAA is the biggest thing, you could say, biggest stage. But I mean, to different people, the big stage is different to different people. Whether like your career ends in high school or college or international, whatever, like everyone has that moment. So I don't judge it too much. I mean, I know that a loss can sting no matter where it is, but I think the biggest thing is just kind of just looking at it as a challenge, and looking at it as almost like, to me, it's like I'm going to prove to myself, I'm going to do it to prove to myself what I'm made of. And it's kind of a chance to show what you're made of, and you don't want to be in that situation, but as hard as it is to say, is at the time, it is an opportunity to bring the best out of yourself, I think. And that's kind of how I try to look at it, is let's prove something to myself. And,
right.
I came back that year and got third, and I remember feeling satisfaction. I mean, it's not nearly what you would feel from winning, but I was proud of my ability to come back. And it's kind of hard in wrestling to like talk about being like proud, because if you don't win, then it's disappointing. But like, I was proud of it. I mean, it wasn't what I wanted, but there's some satisfaction there, I guess.
You should definitely be proud, man, to take a hit like that, especially at a big national tournament, and be able to, get your shit back together, go through the backside, which is always fucking brutal at any level.
Right.
Who wants to do that? But it speaks volumes of your character. So congratulations for that, man. That's huge.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, man. My pleasure. Let's talk real quick, and then I'm gonna let you go to sleep. But the recruiting process. So, who did it come down to? Iowa, and who are the other couple of schools that maybe you were considering, or maybe you weren't?
Yeah.
Did you just know it was Iowa, or were there other schools?
No, I had a pretty crazy process. I was kind of looking at a bunch of different places. My four official visits I took were Cornell, Lehigh, Iowa, and Stanford. So kind of a mixed bag of schools there. And then ultimately, I tell the story a lot, but it pretty much came down to Lehigh and Iowa. And and I ended up choosing Iowa. I actually went out to Iowa, and I was a pretty like clean cut kid, pretty straight laced, and just wasn't used to being around really like partying or anything. Like, I was just, all I knew is like you wrestle and you have fun with your friends, but you do everything right and all that stuff. And I went out to Iowa, and I just remember like, I was pretty innocent. I was just like, oh, this is a party school, and this is different than what I was expecting. And I was like set on Lehigh kind of. And then the story that I tell basically is Tom drove out from Iowa to Pennsylvania, and he hopped in the car and drove to my house and basically talked to me about it, and kind of calmed me down and told me that I was important to the team, and how culture is everything, and how they wanted me there, and that they're trying to change the culture and stuff like that. And that kind of swung me, really. And I always kind of wanted to go to Iowa anyway, but that was kind of like the nail in the coffin when I was like, all right.
How did he know that was maybe bothering you a little bit? Did you say something and somebody got back to him, or did he just feel that? Like, how did he even know?
Yeah, well, I was super close with Jody, just being my club coach, and I mean, yeah, he went to Iowa, but even outside of that, like I just went to him for a lot of advice and everything, and I just was talking to him about the process, and I was like, this is my concern. And it was pretty much like a couple days after the visit, and they asked, I think they were talking to him, and they were kind of like asking what I thought, and he told them that, and then that's when they sprung into action. So they had an inside guy, which definitely probably helped.
For sure, man. Strip Matter's got to be, he should be on their friggin' payroll. He's got to be the reason that so many of you guys wound up there, man. I mean, obviously, Iowa's a great program, and Brands are great coaches, but doesn't hurt having Strip Matter there, that's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, his experiences at Iowa and kind of his mentality was obviously just in his coaching philosophy, and that resonated with a lot of us. So we wanted to go to the source, and that was Iowa wrestling.
Yep, for sure. And well, you definitely picked the right spot. You had an amazing, illustrious career. I'm sure you're not done yet. Whether you're going to continue to compete, I don't know, but you'll definitely be coaching in some capacity or being a part of it, I would imagine. So there's going to be a lot of people that you're going to be able to help in the future with your knowledge, what you learned there, and just your experiences. I really do appreciate you coming on the show, Michael. Real quick, I just want to end with this. You're going to be coming down from June 6th through June 9th. You're going to be working that Pat Lugo's Miami Hawk camp. Is that correct? Yep,
that's right. Yep, we'll be down there.
That's going to be an awesome camp.
Yep, I'm excited to get down there.
Yeah, man. Now you've been down.
Yeah, I'll just add. Yeah, I've been down there with Pat a couple times. Down with Gladiators Wrestling Club. I know that's like a club that he went to a lot. Yeah. Growing up, and some practices there, and then we actually went down. A couple of the Iowa guys went down 2 summers ago. Marinelli ran a pretty big camp down there too. So, and we've gone down there just for fun trips and everything too. So, it's a pretty cool area. I love it down there, and I'm super excited for Pat. I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier, but his mentality and his work ethic and everything. Getting to be his teammate and experience it was awesome, and him transferring in from Edinburgh, I had no idea what to expect, and he's one of my best friends now. So seeing him getting into coaching kind of fires me up, and I think that he's going to have an awesome impact on a lot of wrestlers. So any chance I get to be a part of it is pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's great, man. I was talking with Max. The Lugo family are just top notch, man. Ozzy, my son Bryce grew up wrestling with Ozzy, and they're just good, solid people, man. Just good, solid people. So I'm sure you've experienced the alligators and the swamps and all that shit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to be. I'm going to be at the camp. Going to have the podcast going.
Good.
Too. So yeah, we'll definitely get with you again. But you've got my number. If you don't, I'll text it to you. And anything you need when you're down here, obviously, I know Pat will take care of you, but I'll be there as well. Just hit me up. I'll help you with anything I can do on my end of it. And we'll go from there, man. But I'm looking forward. I'm super stoked. So any of you kids, if your parents are listening, I hope you're not listening because I dropped a couple of F-bombs. But anyways, if you're going to you definitely want to be there June 6th through June 9th at the Miccosukee Indian Casino and Resort. It's going to be a great camp. You're going to have Michael Kemerer. You're going to have Max Mirren. You're going to have DeSanto. You're going to have Pat Lugo. And there's other surprise coaches that we have not mentioned yet. We'll be mentioning them this week. But, yeah, definitely get there. So, Michael, I'm going to let you get to bed. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I know we had a little technical difficulty, but we got through it, man. We persevered. We're fucking wrestlers, man, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's easy money for us. Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
This summer, June 6th through 9th at the Miami Hawks Wrestling event, Nosomi Pozo from the Eagle Empire and Coach Duck from the Gladiator Wrestling Club will be the first 2 coaches announced. Nosomi Pozo,
I'm a shark. I live in the water.
2-time JUCO champion, 2-time NAIA champion, currently the head coach at St. Thomas University. Coach Duck, 2022 Florida National Hall of Famer, currently the head assistant coach at Stockdale High School. And we got more big announcements coming soon, so make sure you follow the Florida Wrestling Room and the Miami Hawks Wrestling Club Instagram and Facebook for all updates. Click the link in the bottom to register.